The following is a presentation of the ForceCenter podcast feed.
From the center of the galaxy, this is the ForceCenter podcast feed, and this particular episode is one of our deep dives, our Bacta Tanks of Talk. Come into the warm, soothing goo with us as we discuss our journey with Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm Joseph Scrimshaw.
Gloom, 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 gloom. I'm Ken Napzok, which is always the thought. When Luke's kicking around in there, it's got to make a gooey gelatin sound, right?
Right. Yeah, you could go in and remix the sound and just put in a lot of upsetting noises, right?
Yeah. Because look, Book of Boba Fett's made it seem like at least that version of the Bacta pot a little more watery.
Yeah.
I don't know. Vader's castle, maybe, but that Luke one, for me, it was you're swimming around in Jello mix.
Oh, that's really funny to think that there are different consistencies. Like, did Luke come in and 2-1B was like, "Ooh, we need extra thick Bacta for this one."
Well, especially now that the High Republic's taken us back to kind of the early days of Bacta. You got to imagine there were some early ones that were just like mud baths.
Yeah, we need to get the color right. It should be clear, right? Because it's gross, this color, right?
Yeah.
Exciting stuff. Welcome to Bacta Hour. We are actually going to discuss something other than Bacta, but who knows? It might come up some more. This week, we're going to discuss our journey with Obi-Wan Kenobi. Personally, what the character has meant to us as we have grown, not old with him, because he's been growing in different age directions. Anyway, first, we want to let you know that today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/ForceCenter. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. This week, we are continuing to recommend Mission to Disaster, the next High Republic adventure by Justina Ireland. We're going to be discussing it soon, so if you want to listen to it first, you can do that by downloading your free audiobook today at audibletrial.com/ForceCenter. This week, we've also been updating you on the other offer that used to go right here. Ken?
Insert ad copy here. The fine folks of Inside Edition still got some great books. You guys should check them out. But as you know, we've been sharing that link with them, but they're changing up their affiliate program. So the link we've been sharing, which is at insideeditions.com/discount/FC35 no longer works. We still absolutely love the company and recommend their books, like I said. So we'll let you know as soon as the affiliate program is up and running again. So you can get a book, get some percentages off on that sale, and help the show in the process. Joseph.
Yeah. So we will let you know. But for now, let's journey into the wide world of Kenobi, Ken. This is an exciting time. Everything's coming up Kenobi, to paraphrase a different pop culture empire. So Kenobi, of course, Ken, absolutely pivotal to the Skywalker saga, but often in service of the tale of the Skywalkers. Kenobi also a hugely important character because he established the absolute truth of the Star Wars philosophy, no one's ever really gone, when he died, not only in his first appearance, but the first Star Wars story ever. He was the original in Star Wars mentor figure. Then in the prequels, he was the young brash Padawan, the charming detective, the Clone Wars general. In the Clone Wars animated series, we saw his angry side as he fought Maul and Grievous, and his romantic side as he revealed his love for Satine and flirted with Ventress, Sugi the Bounty Hunter, and many more people. Now, in the upcoming Kenobi show, we're going to get to see his long, dark time of the soul as he appears to fight to restore hope to himself. A story that is finally truly and totally about Kenobi, it would appear from the trailer. So seemed like a really good time to talk about our personal journey with the character. So I want to start just kind of with the big picture, Ken, of what Obi-Wan Kenobi means to us as a character and what makes him unique. For you, what is Kenobi's power as a character? Why do you like him?
He provides this sense of comfort and a sense of home, and that's going to also probably pop up in my first early experiences with the character when we discuss that. But you know, you mentioned it. He's so key to the Skywalker saga, but often to just the left of it, right? Just kind of sitting on a rock next to it. But I gravitated towards the character then, and he is a mentor role. He is the wizard role. He is any of those classic characters you want to throw in there that came before, or even the ones that came after. down to even the beard, right? But what made him unique to me was, again, going to the sense of comfort, but also just this really, I felt the passing of the generation to him. I felt the true meaning of the mentor, and the mentor that has to go in these stories, at least for the most part. That's kind of the trope, right? And I just picked up on all that, and that's kind of driven my love of Kenobi going forward. He continues to grow and evolve, and we're going to talk about the prequel era, and becomes, he Benjamin Buttons his way down to a different view in our lives. But just it's always been that, and I always go back to that. And even now, even with this trailer, even with the hope, it's like the way you even phrase that, Joseph, as he fights to restore hope to himself. It's like, yeah. He needs to find that so he can give it to the rest of the galaxy. Please. That's where I think he's real pivotal.
Yeah, and I think that's what's so exciting to me about this show is like, yeah, it is about restoring hope to the galaxy, ultimately via the next generation of Skywalkers and that entire fight that we know. But for Kenobi to get to that place that he needs to be the mentor, that it is about saving himself, I think that's fascinating. Yeah, I think for me with Obi-Wan, what I love about the character and what makes him unique is we do see him change and grow from brash young Padawan, even earlier in some of the great books and more to come, Master and Apprentice by Claudia Gray, to the absolutely centered, mentor who knows, their role and this great confidence. But even through all these changes, he's the same person, the way we all are. Like, we can grow and change, but we're still essentially who we are, Yeah. And for me, what I like about Kenobi is that just at the starting point, right? Every appearance, he is extremely charming. He is extremely likable. He is, for lack of a better description, the kind of person that you'd want to hang out with at a party, right?
Yeah.
If you walk in through a room full of Star Wars characters, who's safe to chat with? Obi-Wan. You'll have a good conversation with him. Extremely charming, likable, exciting, but always fallible, right? I think that's one of the things that I really love about him is he is these mix of qualities, right? Qualities that you could consider, both positive and negative, but just truths of a being that exists. He's wise, he's patient, he's curious, he's skilled with a lightsaber, all of these great things. But he is also kind of grumpy, kind of snarky. He can be erudite in a way that borders on arrogant. He can be kind of judgy. He as his lost love Satine can describe him. He can deal in half-truths and hyperbole and have that great discussion about his choices, about how he centers the truth for Luke and other people. So there is so much about him to go like, he's the best ever. And then there's so much about him to go like, but wait, we could criticize him for this. And it makes him real, Yeah. And through all those ups and downs of great qualities and qualities that could maybe be criticized, through all that, he's still just, to me, the ultimate Jedi. He is great at action, but he is not in it for the action. When people are breaking all around him, he refuses to break. He is committed to the light side. And I think what's so fascinating about a ton of his journey is that at his best moments, he really accepts that events are not about him, but that he is there to help others, which is a very Jedi perspective. I think a noble perspective. And then part of what's really interesting to me about his story in this show, possibly being about saving himself, where he finally has a moment where, like, so many times I've just needed to set myself aside and do what the Jedi need of me, do what the situation needs of me, do what Anakin needs of me. But right now, in order for me to be of use to the galaxy, I need to get back in touch with myself. Yeah. I need to center myself so I can be there for others. It's fascinating.
I love that. Even looking at the Kenobi show, you and I talked about the themes potentially being recovery, recentering, and reclaiming, all leading to that flicker of hope, right? That's so good. So many things that you said in there really pop out to me about him being real, the failure, but how to overcome that, and then the steadfast nature, the things that are just so Kenobi that I think we're always there, but picking up on it more.
Yeah, yeah. How do you feel about that? About Kenobi as a character? Like, do you feel like he is somebody that you admire many qualities, and then on some of his qualities go, come on, Obi-Wan? Like, do you feel like they're a
Yeah.
mix of what you would as a human, Ken Napzok the human, consider those are good qualities you have, Obi-Wan? Those are qualities I would question.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what makes him even more powerful. Not that there isn't other examples in Star Wars. Not to jump ahead, but to the Satine stuff. But I remember I was kind of like Anakin in that episode of, wait a minute, what did you just say? You sly fox, what are you doing over there? Like, but it is so real. And I think as we spend more time with this character, that's why I gravitate to some of the moments with Kenobi that I didn't in the past. It's funny because he started as this older character, the mentor, wise old mentor character. But I think the story and me as a fan, maybe a lot of us as fans, we have grown up to become Kenobi in a lot of ways, and that's what makes him even more powerful.
Yeah. So for you, with your journey on Kenobi, has it changed since we've been doing this podcast and diving deeper into all things Star Wars? Has it changed your opinion about Kenobi?
Yeah, it's made it deeper. The steadfast side, holding to the rules in a way, or holding to the mission, that heart of the character. But the charmer, the guy at the party you want to hang out with, I never would have really, especially original trilogy era, thought of Kenobi in that way. Though, as you and I will have said, and we'll say again, Alec Guinness just put so much of that into the performance. It's drawn out from there. And when you look at it, I think Kenobi is the guy I want to go to a bar with from A New Hope. Number one, he'll keep me safe, but he knows the lay of the land, and he's okay with the joke. So I think I just diving into that more and more and more. And every villain is kind of the hero of their own story. I love the idea that what you kind of put out there. If Kenobi realizes he's not necessarily the hero of this story, and never really has been, but maybe needs to when he needs to take those moments, but he's always in service to others. That has popped up more when you study the character.
Yeah. Okay. That makes a ton of sense. And do you find that admirable?
100%. Sorry, I was taking a sip of water, not doubting your statement.
I don't know about helping other people.
No, it is. It doesn't mean you shouldn't take some time for yourself or get what you want at times, but Star Wars has some thoughts on greeds and powers and those kind of things. Kenobi does not go that way and will not let himself break, and I think that's what's most admirable. And that the especially again New Hope in that early sense when you're watching the character, if he is very aware that his part in the story is changing, and he accepts that, and I think that's part of the big part of the lesson I love about it.
Yeah. Yeah, you have said this a lot just about real world things about finding your place in change, right? Of accepting change and going, okay, cool. Instead of resisting it, how can I find my place in it? And I feel like that's what Kenobi's doing.
Yeah, he's not holding on to it. And there's because everyone else, remember, Bail's sending Leia for him to join the fight, and I kind of like that. We discussed it. Does he leave Tatooine knowing he's going to die, or having a sense he's going to die? Possibly on either of those answers, but I still think everyone else is kind of like, it's almost like Luke at Last Jedi. Hand him the lightsaber. Let's get him into the fight. And he's like, nope, there's another way. And I'm totally here for that other way. I'm going to accept and let go and follow that path.
Yeah. Yeah. Great wisdom from Kenobi in his very first appearance. We're going to get into that. Just for me quickly to say, our discussions on ForceCenter and hearing from other fans and seeing even on social media, what different parts of Kenobi, what, chapters of his story really mean a lot to people. All of that has really just kind of helped deepen my love of Kenobi. I always gravitated to him. We're going to talk about that a lot. But doing the podcast has let me really examine what I love about him and put words to it. Also, I've mentioned this a couple times. I will not mention this every single time we talk about Kenobi because it's going to be a lot. But I got this great opportunity, this great experience. The voice actor who, of course, plays Kenobi on the Clone Wars, James Arnold Taylor. We did an episode of the podcast with him, which we recorded for YouTube too, which was a great fun. And he mentioned on there that he would love to do a one-act play of Obi-Wan Kenobi sometime. And then after the recording, like, I would love to help you with that. So he's like, okay, cool. So, not surprisingly, you don't see a bunch of Lucasfilm-approved one-act plays, and the Kenobi television show is coming out, so there's nothing to be done with that right now. But I had this really, really great experience for myself, writing well, what if Kenobi had a one-person show that was him going through his life in order with all the beats? That was just such a great experience and brought me closer to the character. And it's not even like the thoughts or perspectives that I have are like that I need them to be true. It was my take, right? And different things that other writers write will disagree with them, and that's fine. But for me, as an experience, it was just really, really fun to just really try to think through, like, what did he feel about this beat that led into that choice, that led into that moment? Why did he do that? Why would it make sense to him? That just deepened my love for this character. Like I said, even if future storytelling doesn't agree with every little beat that I came up with in that, it was a really, really great experience. It made me understand why people love writing fan fiction. And I'm really grateful for that experience, even if no one ever reads or sees any of it.
No, I love that. Yeah, and I haven't seen it. Maybe we'll release it privately. ForceCenter, just you and me can do it. No, I love. I think your love of Kenobi has led us to deeper discussions on the character that I wouldn't have had by myself. Even though, again, a character I've loved from the beginning, and wrestling with those mistakes, wrestling with those decisions, and just being in a position where he has to make these tough decisions. It's hard to, imagine if you put yourself in there in real life. Not that you and I are never going to be on a lava planet fighting with laser swords, but yeah, you just it's so much more than just that guy sitting on a log telling Luke the kind of truth.
Yeah, exactly. And that was about is getting to like how difficult some of the choices that he faced were, and what kind of things would he feel like, no, that I screwed up there.
Yeah.
Where would that be? All that kind of thing. So it was great fun. Let's get into our journey. We're going to start chronologically. You and I were, of course, alive and young during the general time of the original trilogy. So we met Obi-Wan as an old mentor. So Ken, as a kid and a young man, what did you think of the Obi-Wan we met in A New Hope? What was your relationship to old Obi-Wan?
Yeah, I'll start again with what I said earlier about a sense of comfort and a sense of home. But as I've always said, is it interesting to watch? I kind of, all three movies just kind of came into my life at once, but Return of the Jedi was the first I remember seeing, but I'd seen New Hope before, and then Empire second. And then I thought Ghost, Obi-Wan, and Empire might have been in Buck Rogers. I couldn't remember. Or Battlestar Galactica. Was that Lauren Green? I can't remember. So it all kind of just showed up, right? So I don't have a specific relationship to every beat. That's why I talk about that sense of comfort and a sense of having someone you can go to that is there. Luke, he appears to Luke, when he needs help, right?
Yeah.
That's what keeps it. So without a doubt, that's kind of by design, and it's just a mentor role, I guess. But like, as a kid, you're like, man, this guy I'm rooting for, Luke, he's in pain, he's struggling, he's troubling, he has questions. There's Obi-Wan to help him through that. So that, and then a little bit later, as you start to get, past 7 and 8, and now you're like 10, 11 and watching this, I really think there's this valuable lesson in Kenobi of his death being an early lesson for all of us, that you must go on and you must find the strength to go on. And sometimes now the story is on you. And I'm not, at 10, I wasn't saying these, ForceCenter like theme sentences here, but like, it was a lesson. It was a lesson for Luke. It was lesson for the galaxy. It was a lesson for all of us. And that is a reality. The death is a reality. Change is a reality. And I think that absolutely is something that I connected with early on in Kenobi.
Right. It was just a truth. It was just in your head, whether or not you were writing essays about it.
Yeah. Certainly wasn't, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think for me, I've said before, Star Wars is, of course, a blur, and then Empire Strikes Back comes out. And then I was old enough to kind of wonder what's going to happen in between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. So I had a slower introduction to old Obi-Wan than you did, but he was so a package of Star Wars. I had the action figures, and I didn't relate to him. I related to Luke, and my brother was more like Han. And every once in a while, different place we'd live, a neighbor girl would be really into Leia, and everybody would relate to the young characters, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I didn't relate to him. I didn't connect to him, but he was this stand-in for wise old people, right? Like all of them.
Yeah.
Of that idea of what I heard grandparents were supposed to be, which, I one set of grandparents I didn't have a huge relationship with, and the other side where they were characters. We'll put it that way. So to see on screen this picture of what the wise, gentle, old mentor should be was, I think, really powerful. And in that same way, I'm not writing essays about it, but it got under my skin. And as a young man, starting to grow up, I didn't really relate to Obi-Wan because I didn't see myself in him yet. But I kept getting, at a pretty young age, really intrigued by his energy about the past, right? Like when he says, Obi-Wan Kenobi, that's a name I've not heard in a long time. I started wanting at a pretty young age to think, like, I wanted anyway to be cool, interesting, and to have people want to talk to me. And I think I really hooked into this idea of, like, it's cool to have lots of memories and be mysterious and have interesting baggage. And that was one of the first ways I connected with Obi-Wan, is like, I can't wait until somebody asks me what happened in the past. And I'm like, well, let me tell you, it was a long time ago. And yeah, I used to know that person. And I thought that part of Obi-Wan was cool. The mysterious guys who's seen some stuff.
Seen some bleep, man.
He's seen some bleep. That got to me early on with old Obi-Wan. Did that ever affect you? Did you ever think it'd be cool to have baggage?
Perhaps too cool. I remember in my early 20s, late 20s, actually, I was reminiscing about my failures of my past, which were like 5 years prior. And the person I was with at the time was like, I just think you're kind of lost in these old stories. I wanted to say, like Kenobi, right? I'm just like Kenobi. So yeah, a little bit there. And in terms of story, I love revisiting New Hope. And you and I talk about the moments that Alec Guinness gives us that it can now be entire shows or in the pauses of Kenobi.
Yeah, and what's in there? There's so much mystery. You talked a little bit about the spirit of Obi-Wan whispering to Luke. Was that a part of the comfort? Did you want Obi-Wan to be whispering to you?
Yeah, well, on a surface kid-like level, yeah, that was a really cool trick. And I wanted force powers. I wanted. I've said it before. I don't mean to say this. It's an awkward thing, but like I kind of was like, if I ever lose my hand, I'm going to be okay. I really want a Luke robot hand. Like this is like I'm 7 or 8, and I was just obsessed with that idea. I don't know why. I'm not saying it was a healthy thought. I don't mean any disrespect, but it just that was so. I was into those kind of things. So having a force whispering Obi-Wan would have been something I wanted. But also beyond that, I don't know if you felt this way. Even in some of the ways you're discussing Kenobi affecting your life early on, I always sought out mentors, and always had, not like walking into a room going, anyone want to mentor me, but like, I had a good relationship with a couple teachers who took me, under their wing, an art teacher, an English teacher with my writing. Growing up when I was in junior high, I had a kind of an older friend, meaning just like you come to the house of my parents and I or anything, but I would like to sit in the corner and talk to him about life and I'd listen. And I wonder, even looking back in this conversation, I'm like, how much did that come from just wanting Kenobi around me?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, I definitely, my parents had my brother and I pretty young, so they were younger parents, and that really wanting that kind of soothing voice. And I remember a couple of teachers in particular, who would see that I was having a hard time and would kind of pull me aside and be encouraging,
Yeah.
like the kind of like, I see you. This is hard right now, but you're going to be doing much better later in your life. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And I realize that is, I mean, it's the classic mentor role, but that's the part of Star Wars. The power of Star Wars is introducing ideas that are everywhere and bringing them to us in this powerful way. Yeah.
It's just, I had kind of an old soul type of description around me, but I don't even know if that's accurate. I just think I wanted to feel that comfort. I wanted to get that advice. I feel so lost sometimes. I need that. I needed Kenobi.
Yeah, it's a very specific feeling, especially when you're younger, to have somebody older and wiser going, you're on the right path. Follow your instincts. Maybe here's some practical guidance. Because I think that's what's so powerful about the voice of Obi-Wan to Luke. He's showing up when Luke is truly needed, and it's often just like, you got this, follow your instincts. I believe in you. You can do it. But then as it goes on, it's like, seems like you're having some rough time. Maybe go to Dagobah. Maybe go see Yoda. And now that you're really doing well on your path to being a Jedi in Return of the Jedi, Luke, here's some real Jedi to Jedi talk.
Yeah.
I think that for me, a part of the fantasy was absolutely that it was this supportive figure, a validating figure, a figure who did give, as much as we joke about it, did give Luke some good practical guidance that he needed. But also, particularly when I was young, is like, I wouldn't want an old wise ghost to tell me, yes, I have to drop out of high school and run away for the good of the galaxy. I was like, please, Obi-Wan. Please validate me running away from stuff I'm not enjoying and get out there.
Love that.
Yeah. And I also just wanted to circle back very quickly of I think it is really powerful if that is one of the first times you've been exposed to just the idea of people passing on. And I've told this story before. I'll keep it short of Obi-Wan Kenobi really helping me process death. I didn't quite get what it was, and I had my Obi-Wan Kenobi action figure, and I asked my mom what happens to characters, or not characters, what happens to people when they die. And she's like, they go to heaven. It is not a thorough conversation. It was like, well, where is that? And she's like, it's above us. Don't worry about it. So then I acted it out that Obi-Wan Kenobi was just like trapped up in the clouds, and all Luke had to do is like throw his grappling hook up there, and Obi-Wan could climb down. So I learned the wrong lessons about death and letting go, but I processed it through Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Thank you, Kenobi.
Thank you, Kenobi. So I want to get into the debate, and this is probably really as you and I are becoming in our teens and 20s and onward before the prequels, the great debate of shifty Kenobi. How did you feel? I'm talking about these times now where we've all watched Star Wars a million times, and we've moved from talking about Star Wars on the playground and acting it out to joking about it and debating about it at bars. How did you feel about Obi-Wan's certain point of view truths when you were a teen and a young man? Did you think he was like, yeah, wait, that kind, wise old mentor just bleeping lied to Luke, shifty bastard? Like, what did you think?
Yeah, no, you're right to break it up there, because when I was younger, I thought, oh, interesting. That's the complete story. Oh, I got Luke. You just had to wait for more info. I think I took it more as intended. When I got older, it was a leaping off point to have some fun Star Wars debates as to Kenobi, whether he's a jerk or not. And that inspired a lot of that. And I think. I think I really love diving into a little bit more, and I have sympathy, for Kenobi trying to deal with some of his own past, and how much information do you give out at the time, and so I don't hold him to the flames for it anymore. But there was a time that teen young man age, it was like, man, that was kind of some cold bleep, man. You couldn't have just told him there, and then then it also leads you down the path of by this point you're maybe looking at from watching From Star Wars to Jedi, the making of, or you're reading some of the books and you're realizing the story might have changed a bit, or you're like me, you're reading the Return of the Jedi novel, going, well, he's Owen's brother, man. How come he didn't tell him that too, and all that kind of stuff. So I think during that era, I felt a little. If I was Luke, I felt cheated. I felt wronged.
Yeah. I think I felt really conflicted as this became first kind of like a joke. I thought it was funny. I'm sure I've made many jokes at expense of that, about that lion shifty old man. I'm sure I made all those jokes. But then when the conversation would turn into people being like, yeah, he was wrong, he was a jerk, I would get defensive. And I wouldn't understand why. And I didn't really have an outlet of people to talk to, of like, why did I go from joking to getting extremely angry and defensive and have to hide it? And I think for me, as we've grown now with this character, and in particular this part of it, I've understood that that was a difficult choice, and he decided to share his truth. Anakin's gone, and wrestling with, would it have been fair to dump that burden on Luke, or would it be better to slowly guide him toward that truth? In the headcanon idea that I really, really like is, it might not have worked perfectly the way Obi-Wan wanted to, but he wanted to give Luke a father figure to aspire to, not just someone to hate.
Right.
and and that's Luke's journey, right? He says later, I want to become a Jedi like my father. Even once he knows the whole truth, he is proud to announce to Palpatine that he is a Jedi like his father before him. And I think that is important that Obi-Wan gave him someone to believe in and to aspire to.
I think without that, if he dumps all the information at once in that hut, here's your lightsaber from your father. By the way, the father is this evil monster. Blah, blah, blah. Then maybe Luke is less likely to think there's good in him, right? That's just basic, simple stuff. I just think that's kind of what you're saying there, and I'm on board. And again, how much it's a tough call. How much did Obi-Wan? Maybe we'll find out. Maybe we'll have a conversation in Kenobi series. At the time of this recording, we don't know. Maybe there'll be a moment where he's sits with Owen and is like, I think I need to tell him. And Owen's like, the hell you will. You ain't telling him nothing.
I want to see posters in that cave, like these decision-making charts. And like one is lie to him. The other one is half truth. The other one is certain point of view. The other one is full, unvarnished, objective truth. And he's just like, which one? So
I think you're right. This father figure, he can find worth saving. It's almost if he takes those Padme words, still good in them, and it's like, that's got to be what I got to live with. I might not have found that. I might have got some. I can't have Luke feel that. Now, again, people are going to say, well, Kenobi keeps saying you got to go, kind of face your father, destroy your father, whatever the exact words might be. It is complicated. I'm talking mostly about his New Hope decision and how he has to come around to it and return the Jedi.
Yeah, and I know fans have lots of different strong opinions about that, and it's always, I respect the different opinions, and I've seen people like, he manipulates Luke because he needs Luke to kill his father, so he can't tell me he's his father, and like, I hear that take. I just don't think Obi-Wan Kenobi is that mercenary. I think he wanted. I think he maybe felt like that was a difficult truth that might come to pass, that Luke would have to face Vader, and that it would either be kill or be killed. And I think that's something that he wants to prepare Luke for eventually. But I think also in that moment in that hut, Luke is just starting the journey. One of my favorite moments in that whole hut scene is when Luke's like, the Force. Guinness has that great, like, right, he knows nothing. Absolutely nothing. So I'm giving him absolute Star Wars Jedi Force 101, the most basic of basics, and I'm gently guiding him into this world. And as a part of that, I want to lead with his father was a great man, and I think that's so true to Kenobi. Even if he believes Anakin is truly gone, it's so true that he believes he was a great man, and so I think sincere that he wants to impart that to Luke.
Really does, really does.
Yeah. So kind of slid into talking a little bit about this already. I clearly can now relate a little bit with old mentor Kenobi. As you're getting older, we shift from relating to the young characters, and Obi-Wan is this kind of, as we're describing, this older character that we see in mentors in our real life. Are you now at the point where you're seeing yourself as in Kenobi as in the original trilogy?
I try to. I don't want to. You don't want to cut yourself out of the story too soon if you still got things to accomplish. That's something I battle with a little bit here. But I've just, again, knowing your true place and having a true sense of where you are. And I'm at an age, you're at an age where there's people coming up behind, and I want them to have I don't have children. I no plans to have children, but I want them to succeed in the podcasting world even more than I've been fortunate enough to, or get better in the skills. And I don't seek it out, but when opportunities arise, I definitely find myself comfortable in that role. Again, I was an old soul early on, whatever that truly means. I don't know, but I was a coach early on, all those kind of things. I've been in a boss position, and a leader position, two different things in my mind. And I like it if people are receptive. If people are not receptive, I get a little Kenobi grumpiness. So I relate to him, and I go back and look at New Hope, particularly New Hope Kenobi, with that light now.
Yeah, I think that I am starting to see myself, in Kenobi. From the original trilogy, because even starting relatively young in my life, like in the theater and comedy community in Minneapolis, when people were starting out and wanted advice, and the kind of the first time people were asking me for advice, I was like, oh wow, this is great.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
If there's something that I've experienced and learned, maybe it will be useful to you, maybe it won't. But if you ask, boy, that's a nice feeling to go, here's what happened to me. Here's where I think I made a mistake. Here's what I thought the choice was. Here's where the true choice was. And, trying to ask people, what do you think you really want? And if so, which thing you're going to do to get it. That was the first part, was like, oh, this is that whole mentor thing,
Yeah.
I think as I've gotten older, the moment of Obi-Wan Kenobi in the original trilogy that I relate to the absolute most is that conversation between Luke and Han, where Han is, teasing Luke, and Luke blows up, right? Of like, we don't have to sit here in this. I'm not such a bad fight. And Kenobi just gently puts the hand on the shoulder. And it's that total feeling of, I 100% understand why you are getting angry. None of the things you are feeling or saying are incorrect, but you are not going to accomplish anything about it by getting angry in this moment. It's just not the thing right now.
Mm-hmm.
Just a deep breath, and we'll figure it out. Like, that's such a thing of age, right?
Oh, so much, especially in this day and age, with everyone's opinions out there infuriating you. Yeah, but also just Kenobi was there before. We get to see that essentially in some spots, but especially if you take that, go back to Phantom Menace and that final fight, and Kenobi bouncing around, Kenobi, that hand touch is everything.
Yes, the shoulder of wisdom there. And I think you're saying great things about, the role of mentor is often being there if people ask.
Yeah.
And that's so fascinating about A New Hope. Like, I'm going about my business, and looks like Luke is coming to me. Oh, the droid. Oh, Leia. Okay, this is the time the Force is asking me for my opinion.
Yeah, this is the time.
Yeah. All right. Unless you have any other thoughts on those particular topics, we're going to take a quick break and continue our journey as we travel back in time to young Kenobi in the prequels. Any other thoughts, Ken?
No, let's do it. Let's take that break. Let's go to the bar, get a drink like Kenobi, and come back to finish the conversation.
Excellent. We'll be back with drinks and thoughts. And we are back to continue our discussion of our personal journey with Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm sure everyone listening come to Star Wars at a different time, different age, different perspective. You all have your own journey with Obi-Wan Kenobi, and we are having fun sharing ours. Let's jump back in time, Ken, to the prequels. You and I had lived for a decent amount of time with Kenobi. He's the old mentor. He is the ghost who sits on a log and shares hard truths. And now he is young. He is brash. He is quipping. He is judging. He is fighting fast. When Phantom Menace came out, what did you think of this Kenobi? Did you like him, relate to him, buy action figures? What was your Kenobi journey in the Phantom Menace era?
Yeah, all of the above, but I just remember being blown away by you and kind of really capturing the voice. I remember watching that trailer on VHS a few times and just going, wow, he sounds like, just close your eyes. Tell my roommates, close your eyes. He sounds like him. Do that. Just do that.
That is so great. Do you think there was a power that you recognized him? Like that's some of the Star Wars that I know that voice?
Yeah, it might have been wrapped up in the, hey, they've done it right type of kind of mindset of which is still powerful now, can dominate many pundit conversations of they did it right. And it's a good thing to strive for. But then I think of Solo, where there was 2-minute conversations of they didn't do it right. And I think that just, you miss so much of what was there with Alden Ehrenreich's performance. So, a little bit of that was going into that statement for me. But yeah, I just, I loved everything about it, man. But I didn't initially connect. And there was a little, I don't know if you experienced it, probably not you specifically, but like some of the viewing screenings, you've talked about it before, but when he gets called a Padawan and there's a lot of laughter, jokes as if like, oh, it's a young Obi-Wan. It was people were already too cynical about seeing an origin story. It was some of the things I experienced in some of my conversations with friends, but I was always kind of there for it.
Yeah, no, I didn't experience that. I really experienced even the people who were most critical often brought up his voice. Like, I remember one person, I guess I was working at Kinko's at the time, we kind of very early version of the list of things that are wrong with Phantom Menace. And then, ending with, but Ewan McGregor nails the voice.
Right.
And he's great. I think I was always around the whatever other criticisms people had, they were there for Ewan McGregor's performance as young Kenobi. So I think I was lucky in that way. I didn't experience that early cynicism of like, so much repetition. It's Obi-Wan Kenobi again.
Yeah, I think that faded away for me and my friend group by Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, and definitely experienced the things you did of the love of Ewan. But I just remember might have been my first viewing of he's called a Padawan, he's got the braid, and there was some snickering, which was interesting. To look back and think.
Yeah, the snicker at the Padawan braid. I understand snickering at the term Padawan. It was new. But like I said, I was lucky to not experience that. His time, his performance in the Phantom Menace and the character, right? Because he's got big splashy moments, but he's not the focus, right? In particular, in the middle of the movie, and then he comes out swinging, literally. In the end, but what was communicated with this character is that he was really beginning his journey as an adult, right? That he was, I'm old to be a Padawan. I'm ready for the trials. I'm eager. I'm still looking toward my mentor and getting advice. And, I'm clearly not fully baked. I'm a little judgy. I'm a little anxious, eager to prove myself, but I am an adult. I am capable. As Qui-Gon says about him, right? Of like, he has much to learn of this, and this, but he is capable, right? I wanted to feel that, and I was lucky to be having some moments in life where I was feeling that in my own life and in my own career, of like really feeling like, all right, I am ready to get out there and just charge into the world. And I'm going to make some mistakes, but I'm also going to be pretty amazing, It's
interesting to look at it now, and I might have connected with that more than I thought of. It's different than Luke staring at the twin suns, right? That we all connect to that. But you're right. Like Obi-Wan's in college. He's
about to graduate, right? And he's trying to decide what his first job's going to be,
Yeah, it's like I've already accepted this path. I know what I just want to do, but I'm so close. And that at that time in my life, in my early 20s, that's kind of what you feel. You have what you think are all the skills. You don't maybe have all the means, but you just want to get there. You want to get there, and that spirit is so present in there. I think I wish I was a little bit more clued in then as to what it was.
Yeah, I don't think I could have put this in words or realized that's what was happening. I just loved him and told everyone that I loved him, and developed a comedy sketch just so my friend and I could try to recreate the choreography of the Maul Kenobi fight. Bought many action figures. I bought a Padawan braid for comedy sketches.
Nice.
I bought his lightsaber, which was rare and hard to find. I didn't find it until the year 2000. So I just was like, I don't think I could even, I think I probably would have said like, yeah, the way I really like Luke, I really like Obi-Wan Kenobi. I don't think I realized it was because I was so seeing my journey, working at Kinko's and doing sketch comedy. I think I would have laughed and said like, yeah, no, he's a cool space wizard. It's not the same, but that's the truth of these stories. And that's why they get to us. It was the same, and I didn't realize it, but I was entirely drawn to him because of it.
Which is another, I don't know, looking at George and what he was trying to do there and things we weren't maybe connecting with or picking up on. And I've been of the mindset, there's been versions of the story of Phantom Menace allegedly, that were early drafts that were Kenobi, with no Qui-Gon necessarily, but Kenobi. I think you look back and I think George did a right thing of Kenobi's got a mentor. Kenobi's got another name that, yes, we hadn't heard of, which was also a lot of the conversations. Well, what's this name? But man, it does kind of work. You have Anakin's journey. We know where it's going. We're familiar with Luke's. We're familiar with that kind of trope. And here's something new for us to kind of connect with. And it was for our generation, and we didn't pick up on it, at least, vibrantly as the other ones.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you have Obi-Wan merch?
Oh, absolutely. I didn't have the saber, didn't get a Padawan braid, but I kind of want one now. I'm trying to think. I had all the Phantom Menace figures, still do. And I still love collecting Obi-Wan memorabilia. Not as much as you getting all your different weird, wild Obi-Wans, but it's still fun.
There's a lot of weird, wild Obi-Wans. And even more came out as we move into discussing Attack the Clones. So obviously Phantom Menace, we get introduced this rash young version of the old mentor figure. But then Attack the Clones, if you like Kenobi, that's a special film. Kenobi arguably gets his largest kind of solo story on the big screen to date at that point. He is on a detective mission to uncover the truth of the attempted assassination on Padme. Really a lot of focus on him. How did the Attack the Clones version of Kenobi impact your relationship with him?
I've always appreciated the journey that he was on. We talked early ForceCenter Star Wars Ranked. You and I celebrated the Detective Kenobi. It was a fun adventure for the Django stuff. I mean, he was kind of I connected with that more. Just if Attack the Clones had some things that challenged me more than maybe the other prequel films, but his that's where I was really feeling but not him. And even at the end, the Petronaki arena sequence and everything, he was Kenobi as action hero. Kenobi is the guy in the center of it all, not on the sides of the story, not trying to be in the story. He is the story at times. I really did connect with that.
Yeah. I think for me, it was just it was Kenobi in Star Wars heaven.
Yeah, absolutely.
It already kind of knew what the deal was with Phantom Menace, right? We've talked about it so much. I had many of the same criticisms that people of our generation did, but I was still drawn to it. Still wanted to do all these comedy sketches and get the action figures and read books, and I was still just thrilled that it was Star Wars time. And here's coming Attack the Clones, and there's some discussion of it's going to be better, and then from the perspective of our generation who were snarky about Phantom Menace largely. And then Attack the Clones comes out, and, it was a little bit of a similar experience, but with kind of different targets of the romance between the way the romance is written, the criticisms of the acting in the some of the script writing and all that stuff. And, I got in on how confusing Dooku's plot is. I got in on some of that, but I just think back that summer is just Star Wars heaven. And a lot of that I've talked about, it's because Attack the Clones goes deeper into all sorts of Jedi stuff, into all sorts of Star Wars lore stuff. The Yoda flipping around was mind bending. But when I look back, a lot of it is about Kenobi, because I don't think he goes through a character arc where he is in one place at the beginning and then he's totally changed, right? Mm-hmm. But he has his own story. We see his relationship with Anakin. We see him, as the lecturing mentor figure. But then there's just so much of Kenobi not telling, not lecturing, but doing. Mm-hmm. So we get to see the character that we've seen the edges of, but now we get to see it fully in view, right? Yeah. Everything from what does Obi-Wan talk about when he's just standing around with Anakin? Well, he's grumpy about politicians and their self-serving attitudes. He's got friends in low places like Dexter Jetster with that hug lets you know we're buddies. That's where he hangs out. We see him actually have that drink, which is great. And you have that great story about he's going to go to the bar, and he does. But then it's also that's the beginning of wise, sly Kenobi, to know if I make myself a target, she'll walk up to me and I'll sense it, and it's cool, Yeah. So we see that we really see that he's grown from the Phantom Menace of he is absolutely capable of fighting an adventure, but this is his job. He's a day job Jedi. This is his calling. He's not in it for the adventure. Those lines this is why I hate flying. I don't think this is cool. I don't like going fast. I'm trying to get somewhere and people are shooting at me and it's a pain, right? That great line with Dooku about being released soon. He's good. I have work to do. That it's funny and it's wry, but it's this clear sense of who he is. He's what Yoda described to Luke in Empire Strikes Back. You're not supposed to be craving adventure and excitement. And here you see that with Obi-Wan of I don't need adventure and excitement. I'm trying to help people. I'm trying to do my duty, find answers, and save the galaxy. And I'm being really cool and funny and interesting while I'm doing it,
Yeah, it was Kenobi unchained and just let himself, out and about in the galaxy as a Jedi. Because, remember, we're coming out of the Phantom Menace era where even some of the criticisms that you will hear now of he's on a ship, he's just analyzing, he's working on the hyperdrive, and he has the great stuff at the end, of course. But it wasn't maybe going back to those Snickers. I don't know. It's it wasn't the promise of what Kenobi was talking about in New Hope of I was a Jedi Knight too. So Attack of the Clones kind of scratches that itch. Indeed, he's all through it and front and center, like I said.
Yeah, and like almost every little scene with him is a showing you. It is more tip of the iceberg storytelling. It's like, well, if he feels this way about flying, then how does he feel about everything else? If he has friends like Dexter Jester that he'd greet with a warm hug, what does that tell about him? If his technique of tracking down this changeling bounty hunter at the bar is this, what is that? It's so. I know that's what all storytelling should be. I'm just saying it's really, really well done at showing us who Kenobi is. And even going back to kind of thoughts about complimenting him, but also, showing his flaws, I think Attack of the Clones shows a great job of he clearly cares about Anakin and he wants what's best for him. And he has some warm moments and he's trying to be a good mentor, a good call, my young Padawan. But we're also seeing that he's struggling to be a good mentor, right? Because he's just sort of like, tells Anakin what to do. He's just like, Anakin, I've shown you where the lines are. Why do you keep going outside them? I've told you where they are.
Paint within the lines.
Paint within the line. I showed you. It's colored by numbers, and you're not coloring there. You're using the wrong color. Like, and seeing that that's maybe not the mentorship that Anakin needs.
Yeah.
Did you have any? Oh, go ahead. Go for it.
And I was just saying, Annie has the best hair in the galaxy while doing it.
Exactly. Speaking of that, did you like his look? Did you get any Obi-Wan Kenobi merch? Did you consider redoing your hair to look like Obi-Wan Kenobi in Attack of the Clones?
Well, I kind of already had that haircut in like 94, like the mid 90s mullet. So I definitely had that. No, same thing. The thing about Kenobi when it comes to merch, when you're building on a collection, and if he's in the line, you gotta have him. He's kind of an anchor character, and so he anchors the collections of a lot of toy collectors, I think.
Yeah. I was in a place in 2002 where I needed to roll back some of my action figure spending as a beginning of a journey. And the Attack of the Clones figures, particularly in the package where their limbs are so wide, like I know a ton of people love them, but it was a little bit easier for me because I wasn't as in love with the action figures, and I was just like, but I need some Kenobi stuff. And there was a box of cereal. I think it was just a Star Wars branded cereal. It's like blue and it's got Kenobi like holding the lightsaber just dead center. And I bought it because it was a cool Kenobi image. And I just kept a box of cereal in my office at the time. And I think I still have that box of cereal in storage. So I got to dig that one out.
We can do a eating video.
Oh, no. I'll die live on YouTube. I'm sure that cereal has a life of its own. So moving on to Revenge of the Sith, Kenobi is now getting closer to Alec Guinness in look. He is a general in a war like we heard about in A New Hope. He is heartbroken as he's forced to fight his brother Anakin. Did Revenge of the Sith change your relationship with Kenobi? What was your journey as we got into Revenge of the Sith?
Loving a lot of the moments in it, of course, the big fight. I came around a lot of stuff with Grievous, but I always loved his part of it and everything in there. I loved the ending. Revenge of the Sith ends on that New Hope beat. And it just really, in 2005, I'd always want to just pick up New Hope and start watching it. And therefore, it kind of positioned Kenobi back in the center of that story that I grew up with, right? So it made me feel that sense of comfort and sense of home that I talk about. Now it was truly a sense of hope. Truly was a sense of hope. I loved that ending. I remember at the time wondering, what is the final shot of Star Wars? Because remember, we kind of thought this was the final shot of Star Wars.
Because we were explicitly told that that was it. I did it. I finished, said George Lucas.
And it's, Uncle Owen and Peru, to be specific, but just Kenobi's place in it, his place in the story, and carrying the sadness and the hope. I've always loved that. And as far as like changing my relationship with it, just kind of confirmed that what I'd felt when I was younger. Yeah, he's carrying that flame, that flicker of hope.
Right. The hood up, the beard, the hand on the beard. Right. Concern, that's really bringing it full circle. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, 2005, Revenge of the Sith comes out, and it was like the ultimate, everything came together, ultimate dream Kenobi.
Yeah, right.
Because I had so related to him in Phantom Menace, felt like I finally truly saw him get to take center stage in Attack the Clones, got all the merch, but was like, God, he looks cool. So cool. The hair, though. And that, trying to bring him closer to Alec Guinness, and he has the haircut that I think really works. I know some people are, we're having one of those great Star Wars Renaissance where it's like a lot of people are, coming out of the woodwork to go, actually, the mullet was great. But for me at the time, it was like, it's so great. I wish he had slightly different hair. And then he did in Revenge of the Sith. And he looked so cool. And that was a huge part of it for me at the time. And then his story was, he was so confident, and he that line of like, Sith Lords are a speciality. So great. So cool. And then I really felt for him. Like, he's trying to do the right thing as the galaxy crumbles around him. Right. Like, I think I really felt that. I really felt like, Obi-Wan might have made some mistakes, but he's still the hero. He's the one who's like, I love that line back in 2005 of like, the count, I'm not asking you, the council is, right. He's feeling for Anakin.
Gets it.
Trying to compliment him and say, I've raised you since you were a little boy, and you've become such a great Jedi, that his sort of love and respect for Anakin was so apparent. And I've always enjoyed the great tragedy of, he has this victory against Grievous. He's not sure if he's the right person to go, but the council thinks he is, and he does it, and he defeats Grievous, and it's like, that's it. The war's over. And he gets to enjoy that for like a second of like, I think I just ended the Clone Wars. And then it all falls apart for him I think at that point in my adult life, that was relatable of like, he's doing great. He's fighting a hard fight. But sometimes the world pulls the rug out from under you. So you never know.
Definitely felt that one. I love too, I had some issues at the time. I don't now. Thankfully, I've dug in a little bit more. But Vader's turn was, why did he turn? Oh, he turned because of Padme. I missed the boat so much on just what was actually in the movie. But what I took from it, Kenobi's, you were the chosen one. You were my brother, Anakin. It was so good. It's so full of angst that at the time it made me feel like satisfied still. That I could live with that. And even though I didn't fully grasp or didn't fully love at the time anything that Anakin did to his turn, I felt Kenobi's pain, and that really worked for me. And that again tracks with finding the hope within that pain at the end of that film and carrying it forward in storytelling.
Yeah, that's such a great point. It was in the trailers. It got people so excited, a snippet of it, but the whole power of that delivery, right? To just really make you feel it. And for people like yourself who weren't sure about some of the other beats and weren't sure about Anakin's fall, for the power of those lines and that performance to get you to feel the story, and get you out of your analytical mind and get you just into your emotional mind of feeling the pain that Kenobi's going through because his brother fell.
Yeah. That worked at the time, worked for me more than other stuff, and still works really well. Overall, I just glad I dug in a little bit more to the Anakin side, of course. But it was so that part was so good, and just waiting a long time to see that fight and reading the novel, and when it's the first time I remember seeing that referenced in the Return of the Jedi novel of a lava planet and everything, that all paid off, and that he was the heart of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for me also, like a lot of people poked fun at the high ground immediately. And I was always on board with it because it was like, I didn't want him just see, like, I don't really know how Kenobi beat him. He got a lucky lick in. And now Anakin's, in armor. I love that it was narrative, right? That it slowed down. So I always loved that beat. But, as we've, taken our time discussing it, it's Obi-Wan Kenobi being a Jedi, right? Of like, he says he's going to do what he must. And he feels like, we know he doesn't want to do this, but he feels like he has to stop Anakin. Anakin is dangerous, and he's fighting defensively for a lot of that fight. And even the end of the fight is knowledge and defense. It's like, I've literally gotten a position. Like, you can't get to me. It's knowledge and it's defense. It's like, please don't do this. Please just stand down, So I think the fact that it is, that final victory, isn't a cool big action moment. It's Obi-Wan acting out of knowledge and defense and still feeling terrible about it.
Yeah, well, and that's a lot. Again, talk about me just completely missing a lot of it there, and a lot doing it. But yeah, you're so right. That's what it means, and it ties to the core parts of Star Wars. And I guess, I don't know if I expect anything more from that fight, but or just Anakin's turn. I still to this day don't know what I wanted out of Anakin's turn. He just turns to the camera and goes, "I got power and I'm badass." I don't know, but it all made sense with Kenobi in that moment again. So hats off to Kenobi.
Hats off to Kenobi. Yeah. Did you, at this point, were you still collecting? Did you still have any of that Phantom Menace fever yet?
It was definitely waning, and this is trying to think even where I was living, so I didn't have as much. So I don't know if I even have Revenge of the Sith Kenobi stuff. It's a shame. Fortunate. Maybe it's time to correct that, eBay.
Yeah, this is such an interesting time in my life. I had, in 2005 when this came out, I had only recently started dating Sarah. I went to the midnight showing of Revenge of the Sith and came over to Sarah's apartment at like 3 a.m. or whatever it was. So is at the time of my life where I was doing some rebuilding, and it was really like, I can't go crazy with the merch. And I only bought 2 Revenge of the Sith action figures. Ooh. One was that Yoda that I've joked about because he's inexplicably touching himself in the package. Yep. And that was like, okay, I can use this in comedy shows. And I did. And I wrote it off on my taxes. And then the action figure is just like, I need this. Is the Revenge of the Sith. It's the pilot Obi-Wan Kenobi, but but none of the headgear is molded onto him. You can take it off. And it's just this perfect, to me, simple capturing of Revenge of the Sith Kenobi, for me, kind of visually, aesthetically, the ultimate Kenobi. And I've had that figure with me ever since, right by my computer, relatively soon after that. Briefly moved to London while Sarah was getting her master's degree, and I got photos of Obi-Wan Kenobi hanging out in the window in London. Moved back to me to Minneapolis, apartments, a house we owned. He's been on my desk right with me every time I record, over computers here in Los Angeles. So he's more than an action figure. He's like a little buddy who's been with me
see
for many years.
Sense of comfort, sense of home, a guiding light, a North Star to get you home.
Yes, a little plastic North Star. Anyway, it's a big part of my journey, that little figure. So moving on to the Clone Wars animated series, we get to spend more time with Kenobi. We get to see some stories where he is the focus, as well as a lot of support of Anakin's story and other people's stories. We learned a lot. For you, did learning about his romance with Satine change your relationship with Kenobi? You mentioned that. I want to go a little deeper.
Yeah, no, it absolutely did. And, when we all hit that point in your life where you realize whether it's a parent or an uncle or an aunt or someone close to, I don't know, where you're just like, oh my, that old person used to be a normal young person. What?
They cared about, they listened to music and felt love. What? Our generation didn't invent all these things. Yeah, there's a little bit of that, but beyond just the comical aspect of it, it made Kenobi a more rounded out, completed character for me. He's living life 360 degrees, even if he stops, or we don't know how far he did or didn't go in that relationship with Satine. I'm not just talking about physical intimacy, but we don't know, at what point did it all kind of come crashing down on him. I just was really intrigued by that, and really intrigued that this steadfast, rule-following, holds to the mission Jedi got to that part for some real earned, lived-in experiences, including the mistakes, the big ones, and the Vader and everything, but on a little level when he was even younger than we had known him before. So, yeah, absolutely love that. Yeah, I think it's so deep into characters. A lot of Clone Wars is Obi-Wan being a steadfast character, sometimes a great mentor to Anakin, sometimes a little bit of that Anakin stay inside the lines mentor.
Yeah.
And a lot of the Clone Wars is just like, cool, I get to spend time with my buddy Kenobi, right?
Yes.
But there are those arcs where you see slightly different side of him, how flirtatious he is, but in particular, the relationship with Satine, it really did deepen my appreciation of Kenobi. I think there's the tragedy that we now understand that Obi-Wan probably understood what Anakin was going through even more. and we're approaching our Clone Wars report. There is one time in the Clone Wars animated series where Obi-Wan tries to kind of open that door and like, you know, the thing with Satine, we can talk if you want, and Anakin slams the door shut.
Yeah.
But it's still this tragedy that like, oh man, if those two people could have talked even more, right, about this in specific, how big of a difference might it have made?
Mm-hmm.
So there's that.
Yeah, huge.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I said, yeah, huge. Being able to talk about that. So I look at, and now in my analysis of Anakin and his fall, it's like some of it was, you point fingers at Jedi Order. A lot of fingers pointed at Anakin and the choices, and all the fingers pointed to Palpatine, to be clear.
Yeah.
But yeah, just if he had just had a little bit more support, comfort, and ability to make some mistakes, grow, or question. And so that's a big, important moment.
Yeah. Just have a chat about your lady friends. Come on, Jedi. But then the other thing that I've really come to appreciate about the relationship with Satine, there's some great funny stuff. I remember just like sitting bolt upright when that great line comes in and that that early Mandalore arc, when Satine introduces him as a collection of half-truths on hyperbole known as Obi-Wan Kenobi. It was like, whoa, you know, we're making some of the jokes that we've made about Obi-Wan as fans canon, and they're coming from the perspective of someone who loves him.
Yeah.
In the depth of realizing like that, to me, that is the power of the Obi-Wan Satine story of they both, you know, they question each other, they push each other. She really questions are, you know, should Jedi be warriors? I thought you were peacekeepers, and pushes Obi-Wan's personal culpability and all that. And that's all great in terms of kind of like philosophy, but interpersonally, it's this picture of Satine sees all of Kenobi. You know, everything that we kind of listed at the top of the charming, likable, wise, patient, funny, warm, home. But then also like, yeah, but you're also a little arrogant, you know, a little locked in with your Jedi Order. Like she sees all of his flaws and she still loves him. She sees the complete person and she loves him. That's a great story.
It's absolutely. I mean, it's the one that stands out for a reason. It's not overhyped. It's amazing. Yeah, and Satine, you know, the perfect partner, almost partner. You know, perfect almost partner.
Perfect almost partner. And I love the way Kenobi phrases it. Of I would have left the order if you said the word. Like, all right, way to pass the buck, Kenobi.
Yeah, but even that was a huge revelation of just like, wow, this big Star Wars what if, and yeah, just for him to go to that to what he ends up being when you first meet him in New Hope for our generation. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, great stuff. So for you, what other Kenobi moments or arcs in the Clone Wars have stuck with you or influenced your journey with Kenobi?
The Satine stuff is so dominates in a lot of ways, but I just like his place in the story. I like the Reiko Hardin, the undercover stuff, both the action of it and also the mistake of it with Anakin, some of the bigger stuff there. I've just always, anytime Kenobi is bantering, fighting, flirting, all the things we talked about, I love just seeing that on display because it's still very much Ahsoka's story. It's Anakin's story, and he's still there to serve others. But you're right. It is like this. It's Kenobi action. It's Kenobi in center. So a lot of any of those moments pop up to me where he's front and center fighting.
Yeah, I mean, just about every moment is fun and great. I love the trespass episode where he convinces Anakin not to ignite the blade, but to try to communicate with the Tal's people. That's a great one.
Early on, yeah.
I love seeing like just his curiosity. I love the Geonosian brainworm arc. We love for many reasons, the zombies in Star Wars, but I love when he wants to see what orifice the worms crawl into or out of. Like, I'm just curious. It's so like that's him at his best. I mean, it's like truly curious. I love the Zygerian arc where he is just really willing to take a horrific beating that he doesn't really have to take, but he doesn't. Like, he could, you know, fight back, but he needs to buy time, so he just lets himself be brutalized, you know.
We've been tracking that in Clones Report, the beatings of Kenobi that he keeps taking.
Kenobi gets physically beat up a lot, and Anakin is electrocuted every day on the Clone Wars. It's rough stuff. Yeah, and a huge Kenobi moment we're coming up to in the Clone Wars report is the refusing to break under Maul's torture. Just in case people haven't seen it, I'm not going to say anything more than that, but just kind of one of those ultimate, like, you're not going to break me. That's the point. I committed to the light side. It's not easy, but I'm not going to break. I'm not going to give in to anger. That's the point.
Yeah.
That's my whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Really, really powerful moment that I look forward to discussing with you soon. We also both love Kenobi's appearance in the Twin Sons episode of Rebels, of course. We've talked a lot about it. Pulling back, big picture for you, what is most inspiring to you about Kenobi in that episode, in that scene?
Yeah, it just keeps becoming even more and more just the scene that I just take and look at in my own life. And it is a little bit of that journey of as we age, we start to become more Kenobi. And there's so much, there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of failure, there's a lot of probably newfound purpose that I think we're going to learn more of course. But just, it's truly life and it's change, it's growth, it's understanding your place in the story in a way that, he had never maybe previously understood. And then here comes Maul, not changing, anger thrown in his face. And I just love the peace and the calm and the determination that Kenobi has. And you can throw out the quotes. We do a lot here, but I love the scene now. It means a lot. It is a life lived and scars and mistakes and joys, and even joys lost, death, time, whatever you will say that will take him away. I just love everything about Kenobi in that moment. He knows who he is, and it's taken a lifetime to get there.
Yeah, no, and to go back to how you felt about him as a young man and as a child in the original trilogy, that mood is back, right? And almost like really highlighted and put under the spotlight. The Maul scene is great, but the Ezra stuff is great too. Of he's being a mentor to Ezra, of like softly, gently asking Ezra what it is he's trying to accomplish and helping him get to where he needs to get, but not just giving him the answers, kind of giving him the direction, being a good, kind mentor to Ezra, and just being totally at peace with his situation is inspiring. It is an important chapter in Kenobi's life. It is where he's at with the original trilogy, but like I said, really putting a spotlight on it and creating the space for this television show of how does he get from concerned Kenobi who dropped off Luke at the end of Revenge of the Sith to I got this Kenobi in this episode. It's such an important chapter in his life. And I think for me, it's just it is one of the scenes that reminds me through all of his ups and downs, his great qualities, his potential flaws, that he's often just the ultimate Jedi, right? That scene is all about using his powerful knowledge and defense. He only ignites the blade once it's incredibly clear that Maul is on the path of Luke, right?
Yeah.
That's when it ignites, and there's no anger, there's no vengeance, there's nothing but empathy and sympathy for Maul.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so many emotions, so many powerful beats, and I love everything about it. And in ways, it's not the culmination because we got more Kenobi, but it is kind of the journey as a fan from first meeting him, going back and learning about his history, his mistakes, his passions, and to come to that moment. It's the end of a Kenobi fandom for a lot of people, like the final evolution of our fandom of Kenobi.
Yeah, exactly. So let's take a brief moment to talk about where we're heading into with this show. We're heading into Kenobi's own show about him. Like we've been talking about, he's often been a steadfast character. Events happen and he responds. He grows in between movies, but not always during movies. But this particular story appears to be about change. It appears to be a story about a middle-aged person who feels he failed and is trying to find hope, forgiveness, and purpose. So is that relatable to you, Ken?
It's a little bit too much. Time and time again, probably too much. Yeah, absolutely it is.
Yeah, and I think we ended up talking about this a little bit up top. So I think that's what I'm really excited about. I'm excited to just spend time with everybody's buddy, Kenobi. I'm excited for the big Star Wars story. I'm excited to see Vader. I'm excited to have some of these kind of fun questions answered about how he got to where he was, all that. But I think it's this potentially for me, this really interesting story where Star Wars always does encourage people to think about the group, right? And to be selfless and to make sacrifices. As we've seen Obi-Wan do again and again, he makes a sacrifice in his first appearance in A New Hope, where he sacrifices himself to distract Vader and keep him from Luke. Great many examples in the Clone Wars where he has been sacrificing himself, where he's like, I'm here to serve other people. But to me, there's this tension in the Star Wars storytelling about the group and the individual. the individual needs to be healthy in order to do best by the group, right?
Mm.
And I think it's really interesting to me to see a story that kind of looks like it might be about that, of the battle to save the galaxy is good and needed, but first this character as an individual needs to save himself in order so that he can be there for the galaxy. And I think for me, that's a really important life philosophy. I don't want to be selfish, but I also don't want to be so selfless that you deny yourself, right? And to just be like, I'm an empty vessel who is only here for others. Like, in order for you to be there for others, I believe you have to be there for yourself too, and feel powerful and validated without being selfish, but to feel the best of yourself so you can be there for the group.
It's particularly like it's in terms of like romantic relationships of being the best who you are for yourself, and then not so much then you join lives versus just you know what I mean.
No, that's very good to bring it to romance, because like who people will joke about. Yeah, I'd love to be in a relationship with a person who just does everything I want them to. Like, would you? Would you not? Do you want to be with a fully fleshed out person who has wants and interests and is exciting and interesting?
Yeah. It's like, can you live without me? Well, I can live without you. I want to live with you. That's the spirit. And that's, I think, a little bit of what we're expecting, hoping, and I think the trailers indicated that's going to be a little bit of that. You and I have talked about this great turning of the page in Kenobi's life, and that's possibly what we're going to be getting. I think just because we want to, it's more than just a plot turn of episode 3 to episode 4 Kenobi, but everything you're saying, that's how he's going to have big value, and finding that true value. And it totally makes sense that he might feel initially, I got to go correct a wrong. And that now it's about finding what is next and what's the next right to make, not the wrongs in the past, all those possible things on the table. I'm excited to see that.
Yeah. If about finding a way forward is a great story for Kenobi, because he has been moving forward slowly but surely for our entire lives.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts for you about your personal journey with Obi-Wan Kenobi?
It just shows if you stick around with Star Wars long enough, things that weren't built to resonate with you early on might resonate later. These characters that are with us, it's why I think there's value in revisiting some of these characters. I definitely want Star Wars to go to new eras. I definitely want new characters for all of us to connect with. I think that's very valuable. But I don't immediately scoff and turn my head when we go back to an older character, because I think there's more to learn in their journey, particularly if one that we know where the ending is. And I think Kenobi's a big lesson in that. He was the old crazy hermit, and now he is so much more and continues to teach and inspire.
Yeah. I just am always amazed by the idea of he was the mentor in the first film. He served this mythic role, this functional role. He was fun. But then in order for Luke in that film in particular to step into his own, there needed to be a passing of the torch. So that first story, bye Obi-Wan Kenobi. And all these years later, we've learned so much more that has fleshed out that character, that has inspired people. I think people particularly who grew up with the prequels, I have been looking up to Obi-Wan Kenobi, or grew up with the Clone Wars animated series, have been inspired by and learning from Kenobi forever. So yeah, I think it's a great way to close this out, of being excited for the new in Star Wars always, but also remembering that there's some new to be found in the old of Star Wars. And Kenobi, I think, is one of the greatest examples of that. Is every time he's returned, he has offered some new understanding of the character, and through the storytelling, some possibly, if we're open to it, new understanding of our own lives and our own selves.
Absolutely. That's a ForceCenter absolutely for you.
Plus, lots of great action figures. He is one of my best imaginary friends, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Oh, man. I can't wait for the new run. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Please give me depressed in the cave Obi-Wan Kenobi action figure. Obi-Wan with sit in action, with heavy size.
Now with self-loathing blanket and pillow.
I can't wait. I am going to smash that purchase button or hopefully grab that action figure in a toy aisle. Well, Ken, you want to let people know where they can find us?
Absolutely. Unlike Kenobi, we are not hiding in a cave. We're on Twitter at ForceCenter Pod. Oh, maybe I would like to hide in a cave. We're also on Instagram and YouTube as well. Facebook page is ForceCenter Podcast. You can get our podcast on a lot of spots, including Acast, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and a whole lot more. Just search and find us. Merch is available at tpublic.com/user/ForceCenter. Patreon.com/ForceCenter is where you can support us directly. You can follow me at Ken Napzok or go to my website, kennapzok.com. Like music, I do a live music radio show on Mixcloud called Pop Rockin' Radio, usually Wednesdays and Saturday nights. Check it out. You can link from there. Joseph.
Yeah, you can find me Twitter, Instagram, TikTok is at Joseph Scrimshaw, and you can check out all of my other comedy adventures, past and present, on my website, josephscrimshaw.com. But for now, for myself, for Kenobi hugging Dexter Jester, one of our favorite things here on ForceCenter, this has been a deep dive on Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Oh!